right, folks, for you this evening, I'm going to go ahead and review my ProClear Aquatics ProStar 90-gallon tank. I purchased it from TwoTideAquariumSupply.com. Tyler Moon specifically was excellent to deal with. There's all sorts of issues and problems initially when I ordered because it was right at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. Of course, it caused all sorts of delays, but they really handled it amazingly well. And I could not be happier with the tank, nor the service that I received. I cannot say enough good things about them. So just want to give you guys an overview of the tank. One of my favorite things about it is the overall aesthetic of the tank. It looks amazingly well. We have it here on display in the kind of between the living room area over here and the breakfast nook area over here. So it is constantly on display, and I think it's very important that the tank looks very clean, very neat, which this thing does amazingly well. It's also important to me that the tank is quiet. Me and my wife, once we put the kids down to sleep in the evening, we go ahead and we relax here on the couch. We watch the TV. I'm very serious about my movies and games and whatnot, so I have the 5.1 surround sound installed in the ceiling, and it's real important to me about the overall acoustics in the room. And the last thing I wanted was a very loud, noisy tank, and I will say that this thing is incredibly quiet. So one of the ways that they're able to make it so quiet is that you have a little cover here over the overflowing back. You have your snail guard, helps to keep any critters from going down the drain tube. Then you have your spiral silencer, which really helps to cut down on the splashing and the noise overall in the tank. Moving on, we have the return nozzle right here. Pretty standard. I know that they are working on an upgrade for that to add another nozzle or a random flow generator kit, which will help to increase the overall flow in the tank. And one other thing I like about the overflow is the compact size. It's only about 3.5 by, I think, 6.5 inches or so. So as you can see in the bottom of the tank, it really does not take up much space. That makes a whole lot easier when you're trying to aquascape the tank. Looking at the seams of the tank, you can see that they are very sleek, very nicely done. And you can see also that the glass here is low iron glass. It is very, very clear, so you get the scratch resistance of glass, and you have the bonus of the clarity of acrylic. So all the things that you put inside your tank, they really, really pop. All the colors shine through the way how they're supposed to. Some of the older tanks or cheaper tanks I've seen, you spend so much money on these amazing, awesome corals, you put them inside the tank, and the colors just aren't there like they were in the fish store. It's really frustrating. You don't have to worry about that with this tank. Looking at the construction of the tank, right here we have the, I forgot to mention, the whole thing is skinned actually in this beautiful frosted white acrylic, which with it being acrylic, it's not going to absorb water. It's not going to warp, crack, bend. You're not going to get those little blisters when you have water seep down the front of the tank when, I don't know about you guys, but I have my arm in the tank way more than I would like. Water runs down the front, and normally it drips down the front of it, and you might get little raised areas where the wood would absorb the water eventually. But here, we don't have any wood. It is that acrylic with a aluminum frame, so it's not going to rust, it's not going to absorb water. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff, which is one of the things that I absolutely love about this, especially the long-term longevity of the tank, with it being primarily aluminum and acrylic. Here we can see the aluminum bracing going across the top, also the front and the center, and here it also has aluminum bracing in the floor of the tank. It is skinned with a wood veneer. You can see it is hollow and very, very strong, very, very light, and I especially like that there is no assembly required with the stand, unlike some of the other manufacturers. Looking at the plumbing, you see here it has the two couplers. Pretty standard. The one thing I did like about this a lot more than some of the other ones is that it is all pre-glued. It is all put together for you ahead of time. There's no measuring, there's no PVC gluing, none of that garbage. I'll go in more in depth and about the sump in a minute. Just want to keep running through the stuff for the tank for the time being. So, see here the acrylic doors, and then going down to the bottom of the tank, you have these, oh, let me open the door actually, might be able to see them a little better. There we go. All right, you can see it has feet underneath the tank, and each one of these feet actually line up with the aluminum supports. So the tank is very, very sturdy and very easy to get level on pretty much whatever floor that you may have. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the sump out and go in a little bit more in depth and detail about that in just a moment. All right, so here we have the drain. The drain goes right here where my finger is, through the center. That helps to cut down any sort of bubbling and splashing that happens in the tank, make it a little bit more quiet. You have your 2 filter socks. Those help to polish up the water quite nicely. Moving over to the skimmer chamber. Due to the compact size of the sump overall, this is a very snug, tight fit. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit bigger size on the sump overall, maybe a little bit space for a refugium or something like that. But this CoreBox D300 does fit, and it is a very, very good skimmer for the overall size of the tank and the sump. And lastly, we have the return sump area where I have my DC controllable return pump, and you have your float valve right here, which connects here to the bottom of the auto top off, and it's gravity fed with that float valve switch. Like I said, lasts 3 to 4 days before you have to top off the tank. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move the sump back up to the tank, give you my overall final thoughts of it. All right, guys, so just in closing, I hope that you got a good amount of info out of this video. I hope if you do purchase the tank that you love it and enjoy it as much as I do. And look for in the future, there'll be a couple more videos coming out of me making, constructing the rocks together, setting it up, and giving another review on how the tank looks with everything fully stocked and finished.